Getting enough of money is something that most of us can never get accustomed to. It seems as though the more you get access to capital, the more you want. And this is why we emphasize the importance of financial intelligence. Today, we're going to be looking at 5 habits to win with money. And I want to encourage you to get your pen and your paper because the information that we're going to get into today is going to literally transform how you see money. It's going to awaken you to what money is, and it's going to point you in the right direction of practical steps that you can take to start to position yourself to win with money. Today, I have two of my colleagues that is going to be joining me today. I have one in studio, the other way. But I want to take this time just before bringing up my colleague to thank over 30,000 persons from around the world who have subscribed to this program. Today, we have over 30,000 persons who have subscribed, and we have hundreds of thousands of persons who are viewing the program, and we have many thousands of comments that you have shared with us. So I want to thank you for doing that. However, we're still seeing that over 70% of our viewers have not yet subscribed to this platform. So I want to encourage you to press that subscription button so you will be the first to get these content that we are bringing to you on a regular basis. Now, whether you are a rising star in business or a star in business, or you are the average person who wants to achieve more, this platform will continue to give you information that will transform your life in terms of business and the quality of life that you are leading. So I want to encourage you that once you find this content interesting, to like, to subscribe, and to share. All right. Now, with me in studio, I have Peter Buscott, and he is a theologist, but he's also an entrepreneur. He manages multiple small businesses, and one of his focus is really to help aspiring leaders to leave their legacy. Peter, I must say it's a pleasure to have you here today as we embark on today's conversation as it relates to 5 habits to win with money. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, Gary. So happy to be here as usual and to be of use and to impart some wisdom to the individuals who are so looking to this program for assistance. I wish I had this when I was starting out, so it's a pleasure to be able to give some information to those who are in the pipeline, who are looking to accomplish great things.
Yeah. Well, I can identify with some of what you're saying because I often say to my kids, you guys are lucky and very lucky too, because they have all the information. I said, when I was young like you guys, if I had this kind of information, I would not have been just there. I would have been mega, mega, mega wealthy. But it's never too late to start. And I must say it's a tremendous pleasure to come here on a daily basis to share these type of information that can help businesses to accelerate their growth and to help the average individual to really figure out, how money works and how to leverage monies to their advantage. Today, I want to start our conversation by sharing a story. A few years ago, I was interfacing with one of my colleagues. And of course, because he understands financial intelligence, he spent many years educating his young ones about financial intelligence. Well, comes time for them to go to college, and he emphasized 2 things: having a solid education and understanding financial intelligence. But what he does, he always gives his kids the opportunity to make independent decisions and independent choice. They were now in their, late teens, going into their 20s, and he really trained them up in such a way that they could make independent decisions. So what he did, he threw a challenge out to them. He said, listen to me, I'm going to, this is funding that we have allocated for you guys to either go to college or take the information that you have on wealth creation and you can leverage it in that area.
Mm.
Now, I saw that one of the kids said, hey, they get excited that they're going to college. So they went on to college and they paid their tuition fee and all of that. The second son, what he did, he took his money and he put it into income producing assets. Now, 4 to 5 years later, when you evaluate each one of the sons, both of them came out successful. One, the first son, he had his first degree and he was excited. He had a degree in management and he was all excited. And the second son, he took his money, put it into income producing asset, and he also started to invest in businesses. And 5 years later, they had to give a report as to how they invested the money. So the first son says to dad, well, dad, you know, I made you proud. I have my first degree and I'm now working at this particular location. And the second son said, well, dad, you know, I didn't get the degree, but I still made you proud. I tripled the monies that I 10 times increases the money that you gave me. And but I don't have that degree. But another shocker, your younger son is working for me and he doesn't even know. Right?
Mm-hmm. So
And
there you go.
now he had the younger son now. Luckily, the dad paid off for the expense. See, they had student debt because student debt is very high. You know, I think it's $1.707 trillion in student debt in the U.S. today. So luckily, they had the debt, but he was working for the younger brother. He didn't really use the information the father gave to him on financial intelligence.
Wow.
The bigger brother, what he did, he took the money, invested it. He owned multiple income producing assets. And guess what he did after the icing on the cake? He said, Daddy, now that I'm making money, I'm now going to go get my degree.
There you go.
Now that he was a multi-billionaire for the money that his dad gave him. One of the son, he spent all the money into studies. The other son, he took it, he invested, he multiplied 10 times four. And he said, now I'm going to go make money. Now that I have money working for me, I'm now going to go study. So today I'm going to spend some time just breaking down what that looks like. So the average person, because what one of the sons did, they deployed what we call critical thinking into that decision-making process. And very often you find that the average person who wants to position themselves for wealth, they are not necessarily going through that type of critical thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So, Peter, I don't know if you want me to go at it now or if you want to take a shot at it, and then I'm going to come back and expand on it. Which one you want?
I want to hear what you have to say. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I didn't hear you.
I'm saying go ahead.
Go ahead.
You whet my appetite, so I want to hear more.
Awesome. So I think the first son did, he was excited about getting his academics. And of course, you know, we don't want to say there's any harm in doing that. Although we know that there's some advantages that we're going to look at, disadvantages of it, if it doesn't make sense, that we're going to look at later on. But the son that leveraged the financial intelligence, what he did, he sat down and he looked at several things. He said, you know, I'm going to go and pay for my first degree, and he's likely to be paying like $150,000. That is it for 30 years. And he think through the whole business process. He said, you know, the interest rate is going to be at 6%. Every month he has to allocate about $850 $99.33 to cover that full sum. What he made that kind of calculation. Along with that, he went on to say, okay, I'm borrowing a principal balance of $150,000. He calculated that, that over the 30 years, he's going to be paying back approximately $323,757.28. He went this deep into the analysis. And this is why his financial intelligence is so important. So as he goes deep into the analysis, he starts to say, okay, the cost, if I borrow money, if I leverage this money in this way, the cost that I'm going to pay for this capital over this period is going to be $173,757.28. He break down the entire thing. Because he was thinking, should I take this money and go to college? Should I take a debt and instead of taking the money that my dad gave me and invest it, or should I just invest my money? So he made an informed and educated decision by doing the analysis. So he said, I can't take a debt because if I take a debt in 30 years, over the life cycle of this debt, the debt principal balance is $150,000. But over the life cycle of that debt, I'm going to pay back that $150,000, plus I will pay an additional $173,757.28. He broke it down. And this is an element of financial intelligence. It's not just about understanding just the fluff and the motivational aspect of it. You must put yourself in that position where you can break figure downs to be able to make an informed decision as to if this makes sense. So when he looked at this, he says to himself, this doesn't represent the concept that he had in mind. He wants to build wealth first. He wants to do his education, but he wants to build wealth first. So instead of taking the money and allocating it to his studies, he did something that was very clever. He took the money that his dad gave him, and what he did, he decided to take a loan, but he's taken a loan $150,000 for the same 30 years at 6%, and he recognized that he's going to be paying back $1,498.88 on this loan. But guess what he took this loan for? He took the loan and he buy a family unit. He purchased a duplex. Now, let's do some more breakdown, because this is how that son was thinking. He was breaking everything down so he's able to make an informed and educated decision, because his dad really trained him how to do these financial analysis. So he looked again at the figures and he said, okay, I'm borrowing a debt. The debt is $150,000. The total cost for this debt over the 30-year cycle is going to be $539,595.47. He broke it down. So he said, okay, the principal is this, the total payback is this, the sum that he has to pay in interest comes up to $289,595.47. He really broke it down, and this is a critical part of financial intelligence. So when he looked at this, he said, okay, I am paying this money back. I'm borrowing $250,000, but I'm paying back total $539,595.47. And he said, I can deal with this. So let me tell you why he saw that he could deal with this, because he was able to, that wasn't all expenses. In his view, if he took a debt and just allocated to academics, it's an expenditure that can end up being a liability if he's not able to make academic make sense. So when he looked at the income producing asset that he was going to invest in, he also went deep into that to make another analysis. And this is what he saw. From the duplex, he's paying $250,000 for this. He saw that he can generate approximately $3,500 per month. So that means that his yearly income would have been $42,000. Man, come on. He over the life cycle, $42,000 he's generating per year.
Wow.
All right. So over the life cycle of the debt, which is 30 years, from that single source of investment, he would have now generated $1,260,000 from that investment portfolio.
Wow.
When his total expense for the debt was only $539,595.47. So he see the kind of profit he could have walked away with. So he saw that after he would have taken away all of the overheads from the expenses, his return on investment would have been $720,405. And that is net income from the investment.
Right.
So one, he didn't use his father's money. He took a debt. He didn't use it to put it down on the asset. He took a debt. Two, he was able to up-level the debt into an income-producing asset that didn't pay him just for 30 years, but he was all set for that to pay him for all his life because he had this asset. So at the end of the brother's study, he had that debt. Had it not been for his father paying in advance for that, he would have had that debt. Luckily, his father paid for it. So several other things happened. He recognized that at the end of the debt life cycle, one, he's going to own an asset. He's going to be debt free. The asset is going to pay him for the rest of his life.
Wow.
And the third, fourth, or fifth year, he can still go and study, and the asset paying for that. And he still has not yet studied as far as touch his dad's money.
Wow.
He didn't have a cost to do that. So how his brother ended up working for him, because what he did not only do was to purchase that one property. What he was doing every few years, as the asset appreciates in the estate, he took out the equity and he leveraged the equity into additional income producing assets. And he also leveraged the equity into business investment. He was purchasing businesses. So he was combining the equity with the money that his dad gave to him and perhaps other debt instruments to purchase property, to purchase businesses, that one of them that his brother ended up working with.
Wow.
All right. So, man, that's a whole story. And I think it goes to show the importance of financial intelligence. And today, the more you understand about financial intelligence and you're able to leverage this body of knowledge to position yourself to build wealth, you create win-win situation. The irony of all of this is that we are trained to go to school, get a good job, get a good education, get a good job, and very hardly, like in many cases, you're not really trained to create your own job. With financial intelligence, you start to think this way. And the irony of all of this is that when his brother was graduating, he had a different graduation. He was retiring. In the same span, he could have retired, right? Because he had multiple streams of income. So when one was graduating, the other one was retiring. All right. I'm now making the decision. Hey, I want to go. So what one brother is, I want to get the experience. I want to know that when I go into study, I can study this and I can apply it to this. So he had so much of experience in the field that he was
Yeah.
investing in that
Yes.
that's the field that he decided to go and study in. All
Yeah.
right, where it makes a whole lot of sense that all the information he getting now, he could have now transformed it to that because he tried it, it worked, he making money, he was able to retire while his brother is now getting his first paycheck. Luckily, his brother said, "Hey, you're not going to work for me. Uh, it's family, so you're up on the executive." And he was given that free pass because of the family. But the average person, you're not going to get that free pass.
Yes, indeed.
You have to remain on the cycle.
Yeah.
And again, today, this is not unique to him because the majority of people we are taught
Hmm.
the importance of education, but education today has changed from what it used to be many years ago. Today, you could be studying this area of technology, and by the time you finish your 4 years degree in that program, that entire program shifts.
Right.
So that study now is now relevant to the market.
Hmm.
And if academic in of itself is not keeping a pace with all the technological changes that is taking place and adopting it into the curriculum, you could find that you have just spent, 50,000, 100,000, 150,000 US dollars on a project, and then it don't have relevance in the real world because the changes is taking place so rapidly that become obsolete. Things are changing.
Right.
And back in the days, changes wasn't taking place that rapidly.
Right.
Changes are taking place rapidly today. So I'm going to emphasize whatever you do, if you going after your academics, there's no harm with that. My argument, just make academic make sense.
Exactly.
And if you don't know if it makes sense, um, perhaps you need to get with the expert that can help you to do the analytics,
Hmm.
help you to make informed decision. I come from a strong research background. I believe in the gathering intelligence. Fortunately, I've studied marketing. So because of that, we place a lot of emphasis on collecting data, analyzing data, leveraging data, and mitigating data that allows you to make informed and educated decision, business and life decisions. If you are not in that position of strength to do so, my advice is to get a mentor, a coach, someone that can help you to navigate that. So I'm going to pause here for that, Peter, and give you some time to chime in. But
I
I
needed to
trust that the public enjoyed that story as much as I did.
do. I do. And I tell you something, there is so much to be learned from that, just that story alone. Because for the person who is listening right now, perhaps there is somebody who might have come on this program and they might have been asking themselves that same question. This is something that an individual can take, and they can. I'll take this and I'll teach it to my children. I'll use it as a premise by which I communicate to the value between choosing to study theory or to enter into the world of practical application. And this is what this young man did. Both of them went into the school. Both of them went into university. One went into the University of Life, and the other went into a university that teaches theories. And where are we going to really get our true knowledge from? So, which even comes to what the 5 habits for making money, and the first one that I had written.
Now, now that I finished saying that, guess what I remember?
Go ahead.
Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki.
So it is a rule then, Gary. It is a principle. It is a
Yeah.
it is a principle, and I look at it from that each of us now has to reevaluate the decisions that we make in terms of education and what education is. So if we do not know, because as you mentioned, that the education system for what it is right now, what is being taught It's really generalization, which doesn't really give credence to how a person's life or what they will actually do to bring finances into their lives. Because as you mentioned in this case, the first son, had it not been for his father, he would have been, yes, he would have been in,
In depth.
he would have been either started out in debt, and then chances
Hmm.
are what he would be getting from his pay would not be enough for him to take care of his life and also to repay that debt. So it shines so much light on the state of the global economy and why life and why everything is as it, which what we, as I was just looking at, it makes sense that a person, if they're going to build an habit for make money, they have to have a clear vision. It's very important. Well, they have to have a clear mission, because the mission will now tell you what you see. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have the vision first, but you need to have the mission, because now the mission will determine what you set out to do, will give you eyes to see what you want to do. So the practice that I would analyze to say everybody is do what this young man did. He had a clear mission on what he was going to do. As a matter of fact, both of them had clear mission, but it's just that one make financial sense. The son that did the investment, he did the financial analysis on what it is, how it's going to play out financially. So in writing your, going about your vision, you have to do all the critical analysis in how you're going to approach your business and whatever it is that you're going to do to create finances. Then your mission is going to dictate all the elements, not just the end result, but what the end result is going to cost, down to the very pennies on the dollar. Mission and being a leader. And one of the key thing of being a leader is then to understand that you have, you're making assessment, you're doing all the critical analysis, you're understanding leverage, and you're understanding as I said, the critical analysis, and you're going to break things down before you take the first step. You need to make the first step, and this is, going back to, what we do in master planning and why we emphasize master planning so much. This is what this young man did. He created this master plan. In devising his mission, he created a master plan which took into consideration how much time it was going to take him to accomplish, yes, his degree, as against if he should use the funding that is available to him to invest it directly. It's good to invest in your education, but you do not want to invest in an education that is a liability. The second son, he invested in practical education that became an asset to him. And by the time he was, really ready for secondary education, secondary in the sense that education that what somebody else tells you to do. Because what the first son invested in was secondary education. When I say secondary, not in terms of primary, secondary,
You
and
can put as tertiary, and
right,
just it's okay. It's
yeah,
commonly known as tertiary.
right. But
But
what
I got you.
but secondary education in the sense that it is not first hand. It's
Oh,
not first hand, right? He went into the son that did and he went into to educating himself to go there, because when we do studies, there is a bit of knowledge that can come from what somebody tell me to do. But if I can't really receive that, it's really just somebody else's analysis of what is to be done. I will still need to take that and do it in order to truly know it. So, having a mission and being a leader with a mission, it's like taking the bull by the horn. in the sense that he's going to go out there to test to see what it is that he really wanted to do. And then when he knew what he wanted to do, then he went and studied, do that bit of study on what now he had now proven to be the body of knowledge that will make him that is profitable. And I'm going to say lastly about this, and then I'm going to pass back to you, Gary, is that what
Mhm.
you find is that a lot of individuals, they go and they study without really doing that critical analysis that you mentioned so often, and they go and do that body of study, and then it's, as you say, it's either it is obsolete when they, by the time they are finished, or it is not them. At the end of it, they realize I studied something that it's not me. So yes, he might have a scalpel in his hand, but then he found out that he's going to work and he hates his job. Is going to a work that they disdain and dislike, and then life becomes miserable because they did not take the time to decide on what the mission is. And so, that bit of a story that you mentioned is worth the entire program. If we really walk away from that, if anybody hearing that story, we don't need, it's demonstrable. We have learned a lot from it. And this is why I do appreciate this program so much.
Yeah, great points, Peter. And just to follow up on one of the points that you would have made, and you're right, a lot of young people are placed into academic studies not because it's what they want to do. It's not about their passion, and sometimes you're making a choice and you don't have all the information.
Mm-hmm.
I could recall a very senior Toastmaster, not Toastmaster, Lion. In fact, she was both Toastmaster and Lion. And I met with her in our office many, many, many years ago. And she sat me down. She said, Gary, what's happening with young people today? I paid for 2 college degrees for my daughter. And guess what? When she finished the first one, it's not what she had wanted. When she finished the second one, it's not what she's wanted. And she now wants to go and do the third one, and I just don't know if I should pay for it. So I don't believe that enough information also is out there to help young people to make an informed and educated decision as to what career path they should be going down. And let me say this, I mean, even in cases when you might be certain that this is a career path that you want to go down, it still must make sense to you in the short and long term. And let me say what I'm saying here. Depending again on where you are in the world, you may have a creative arts degree. You might have a literary art degree. But guess what? Kudos to you to have this. But very often when you evaluate the potential to make a sustainable livelihood in the context of the realities on the ground, you're not able to cash flow optimize. And as a parent, what you want is to know that your kid would have choose a career path that will not only give them the academic accolades, all right, but also give them the financial security that they need to live a quality life, not an average life, a quality life. So very often when you are selecting a career path, but then you are not trained to be analytical about that path, it can come back to bite you. And we see this is not an uncommon reality. We see that millions of people across the world, billions of people across the world, this is their experience. And I could just share some of my shockers with you. Many years ago, I was interfacing with some colleagues, and what a young man said to me, he's a doctor, and his wife is a lawyer. And they're working paycheck to paycheck. Because I didn't have the information at that time, it was unbelievable to hear that. It was shocking to hear something like that.
Mhm.
That a well-established, doctor, well, he's doing had his own practice, trying to get his own clientele and all of these different kind of stuff. And his wife was a practicing lawyer. But still, having a doctor, first degree, being able to practice in your craft, I mean, one would want to believe that, you shouldn't have a cash flow problem. But both his income and his wife's income, they still weren't able to move beyond that paycheck to paycheck cycle. Now, I must do a disclaimer because building wealth is not about how much money you make.
Exactly.
It's about how much money you're able to keep and save and invest and build wealth with that. I did not go into that analytics to see if he is, spending above his means or whatever that is. But regardless, I was surprised to hear that. Now, another habit that I want to look at, regardless of where you are in life, I think it is a necessary means to start thinking of multiple sources of income. All right, because one of the things that we are seeing is that a single source of income, and even in cases where you have a couple that are working together, they are still not able to reach their total monthly expenses. And I wish that I was just talking from imagination here. One of the things that is my portfolios that we invest in is real estate. And we have couples in some of our apartments. And sometimes we see the struggle that they go through to reach that monthly expense. Not as a single person, as a couple, we see it happening. And it's very concerning. But that's the reality on the ground when you do the analysis. So taking all of this into consideration, as a humanitarian, it gives me even more courage to roll out content like this, where we are constantly trying to provide the kind of information to people that can help them to make smarter life decisions and smarter business decisions. And a smart life decision and business decision is to start thinking about multiple sources of income. All right. Today, the single source of income, depending on where you are in the world, based on the analysis that we are doing, it's not adequate. In the U.S. alone, we are seeing that the average person don't have $1,000 in their savings account for emergency savings. They don't have it. All right. That is a reflection of single source of income. The average person today are not able to send their kids off to college to get perhaps a combination of what we call the good education, the right education, a single source of income by both parents. I mean, I'm saying single source of income. In the worst case, is one breadwinner, but a single source of income, right. Even with two parties, we see that the challenges with that. So it makes sense to perhaps, as an academic, is to ask yourself, how can I up-level my skill? I think for an academic, it's easier because, let us take, for example, you might have done communication. So you have your communication degree, or you are in journalism and you have your journalism degree, and you are attached to a media entity. That brings in a single source of income. A communication specialist brings in a single source of income. Let's also suppose that you are a marketing specialist. You understand how to do the research, you understand how to identify the ideal client, you understand how to innovate products with precision and align that to the ideal client. you understand this as a single source of income. But guess what? As a specialist in this field, you have options. For example, what if you take your experience as a journalist and you say, I'm going to develop training content and I'm going to digitize those training content. So at least young person who wants to aspire to be a journalist, my content is giving them a day in the life of a journalist. So they document that, and that become part of the research archive. So anybody that wants to go know more about journalism, they have a crash course, and perhaps you may have a number of persons that may have interest. The same thing could be done with communication. The same thing could be done with English, with marketing.
Right.
You up level it into what you call digital learning content.
Right.
All right. Perhaps you can develop a specialized writing course for offices. So you're not just doing your regular journalism work. You are now building out a second source of income because you're leveling your skill to generate additional sources of income. Let's look at it from another perspective. Perhaps now you're taking the stage and you become a public speaker, and you are teaching people the art and best practices of business communication, and you're teaching people the best practices of research journalism for business and perhaps for the regular media.
Right.
You are now aligning your content to strategic avenues and outlets that you can monetize. All right. And because of this, you're now creating multiple streams of income by doing what you love, by doing what you were trained to do. All right. And you're making a kill because you're not seeing things just one way, the way you've been trained to see things. But this way, perhaps many years after, then you recognize that the way that we were trained, go to school, get a good education, get a good job, and all is made from there, it's a farce. It might have been true then, it's a farce now. So you have to assess the situation and come up with a practical mitigation strategy. So you have to start thinking multiple sources of income. Peter, I started here because there are other complex suggestions that I could make. I can talk about passive income, and I can say you can invest in stocks or bonds or in mutual funds or in hedge funds, but I wouldn't come there now because I know that I don't want to recommend this as yet because I don't want people to make front-end analytics. Yes, you could make passive income here. I want you to make back-end analytics, not front-end. But let me go there a little bit just since I'm there. There are many companies in the world today that have history in paying dividend yields. I think is Scotiabank in the developed world. I think it's one of them that over the last 50 years, they have not failed to pay dividends and yields, dividend yield. So perhaps when you do that back-end analytics and you see, hey, I mean, this is a good portfolio for me to invest in because consistently over the last 50 years, persons investing with these operations, they have been able to walk away with profits. So that is, another form of secondary source of income. But I'm going to pause here for now, Peter, and I'm going to give you a chance to chime in based on some of the talking points that you would have had. But just to emphasize, in today's world, based on the research that we are doing, you cannot settle for a single source of income. It makes much better sense to start thinking about multiple streams of income but you need to stress test all of this before you go at it. It's not about making emotional decision. It's about making decision based on what the data is saying, and you allow data to guide you in that whole process. All to you, Peter.
Yeah, yeah, Gary. And you mentioned about the colleague that paid for 2 degrees for her daughter and was wondering now if she should really make that third investment in another degree. Because what we do understand is that these young people, they are listening to other individuals who are theorists. They make money by teaching theory. So they do not have practical exposure to what they are inclining their students to do. They themselves have not done it. They themselves, as I'm going to call secondary information again, secondary information, meaning we're always having a second-hand story, a second-hand a body of knowledge that has not really been tested. So it's like me listening to you speaking instead of go doing real estate myself. I watch you or see what you do, or I study what you say about real estate, and then I build a seminar on how to teach how to do real estate where I've never bought a property. I make money by teaching a seminar. So what I have is a bunch of individuals who have learned what I teach in a seminar, and then you have that story being proliferated throughout the economy without any
Yeah,
persons actually go do.
great,
Mhm.
great point, Peter, and great point, great point. And that's why also I emphasize that there is a need also to combine the theory and the practice.
Mhm.
So if even it is my first hand, your second hand data, when you are now in the practical zone, it becomes your first hand experience because I'm taking my first hand, your second hand, and I'm making it your first hand because you're going through that motion and you're getting the experience.
Right.
Again, this comes back to some of what I would say make academic make sense.
Mhm.
What some institution in the developed world has done, they have built out their theory, but alongside the theory, they have the practical. So let's take, for example, you're going and study music. You're going to get a theory of music, but
Right.
then they are going to attach you to the music production studio, and they're going to walk you through the entire rope of music production.
Right.
So they're going to walk you through the entire ropes of what the production process, the marketing process, the public relation process, the labeling process, the the copywriting process. They're going to walk you through that entire process. So you now have first hand, second hand, first hand.
Right.
And some institutions are set up this way where you have the theory and the practice that is holding hands, and they are allowing learning to be an integrated process,
Mhm.
a super experience for those who are in that process. And
Mhm.
that's something that we are currently looking at. Um, and that's how we wrote all of our program, Peter. You know that. We
Mhm.
have the theory and we have the practical. And we want to upscale this into a whole nother level where we really make academic make sense to the student body. But in time to come, we'll talk more about that. But that was a great point that you were making. Go right ahead, Peter. Sorry
Yeah.
to interrupt you.
Not no interruption at all, Gary, because the things that we need our audience to understand, which now takes me to the second practice, second habit that individuals needs to have. And I mentioned the first one was the mission. Every mission costs. There's a cost behind every mission. So the second is that you have to know the mandates. What are the things that you must do in order to have a successful mission? And it makes no sense you accomplish a mission that at the end of the day, when you do all the analysis, you realize that it doesn't make sense. Well, that's a failed mission. Yes, you have accomplished a mission, but it has failed. And so said, so done, where the young man that you mentioned, the first one that invested the money in education. Yes, he had his education, but at the end of the day, If his father did not come to save him, his life would have been miserable. That mission would have failed. So, there has to be a mandate. So after we, look at the mission that we want to look at, we know that we must do, then we have to do, as we go again, the critical analysis. What is the number one thing that must be done? How much does this thing cost? How much is it going to cost? Because there's a cost to life. Life is a cost. We're sitting here and we're having a discussion, and we might be there's much expenses that has to be paid for us to be using the gadgets and all the softwares and the hardwares that makes this possible for us to be able to have this kind of an exchange. Somebody had to invest into some bit of technical understanding and creating the technical know-how so that other persons can have this facility in order we can do so. Life is a cost. Even the man that lives under the bridge, the person who made the bridge in the first place so that he can sit there is a cost for that. So we have to understand where life is concerned. Nothing is free. Nothing is free. Nothing is.
There is no free lunch.
Yeah, nothing.
No free lunch.
If we're going to participate successfully, if we're going to participate in life, then we have to make our contribution to make life wholesome for all that is concerned. And the number one has to be asked, what is the mandate? A mandate is something that you must do. You cannot overlook your mandate. It is just something that you must do. And one of the primary thing, and this is one of the issues that I've realized, Gary, why I think that this program would have been so much of a benefit, a value, an asset to me in my younger years, if I understood that there is a cost. The cost, I knew there's a cost, but how to really do that critical, analytical processing of what needs to be done, I did not know that, and I just knew that there was something wrong. I just knew that what they have been telling me, there's something that they're not teaching me. So I had to figure out a lot of time to figure it out so that we can be having this conversation right now. To individuals, the number one thing that I discovered was that yes, there's a cost, and we have to add the cost. There is a schedule and a cost to everything that we're doing. We have to schedule it. The young man had to schedule his education. He had to schedule being in. He had to schedule the time that he was gonna study, and all of that. Once you're talking about time, there is a cost for time, and we cannot overlook what is the cost for time, what is the cost for opportunity, what is the cost for whatever it is that we are engaged in. Because when we're able to do the financial cost, then we will know whether it makes sense or not. If it doesn't make sense financially, more likely it's not something that is worth investing in, because it means that you're going to have to be taking other resources from other places to make up or to leverage for what you're doing, what the individual is doing in that given moment. So understand mandates, what you must do in order to have a successful mission would be my second point.
Yeah, I think that you make a lot of great points. And based on some of the points that you have made, again, is one of the reasons why we tend to talk a lot about the importance of doing an academic audit. The average person might want to say, you want to audit academic. Well, I think it makes sense to do something like that. A whole lot has changed in the world, but a lot of things are still standing still and marking time in terms of academics. And let me say why. And I'm going to go into some details why I am emphasizing that there's a need for an academic audit. One, I'm looking for three types of audit. There's one that I call the financial audit. And what is the financial audit? We need to evaluate the cost of academic versus the benefit, short and long-term benefit of academics. We need to see that. Secondly, I look at what we call the lifestyle audit, and that brings into focus how is academic impacting our life in three perspectives. How is it impacting our lifestyle, culture, and social class? Is it allowing us to elevate up the social class, and at what pace we want to have? Having that information is important. And the third audit that I would love to see is where we talk about the economic audit. And this has everything now to do with how academic in of itself is impacting private sector development. We want to see an impact where with the information being introduced into the organization, the leaders within the organization can move it from a localized entity into a national entity, into a regional entity, and into a global entity. Is this too much or high demand to placed on academic for it to make sense? And we're talking about this at our level. At the right time, we're going to bring out some more information about some of the game plans that we're looking at. And the second element under this umbrella is what impact is academic having on the micro and macro economic development. And one that I would really want to see, academic, I want to give them throw flowers at their feet. We are some of the smartest people in the world. And I trust that being smart also means that we have that ability to help the world to heal. And sometimes when you look at some of the chaos in the world, you ask yourself, what impact is it having in this regard? So there's some gray area that as time goes on, we will look at. But let us look a little deeper at some of the realities. We're seeing that we have 43.2 million borrowers that have what we call federal student loan in the US alone. 43.2 million. But let's go a little further. What is the debt, total debt of this body of students? Is $1.727 trillion. That's a lot of money in debt. Again, what we see is only 7.2% of the students are able to offset this debt. And we have 92.8% of students that owe that federal loan, and they struggle with this for many, 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 many years. And that for me, it's a concern. All right, people are struggling with student loan debt for 20. You see the young lady behind me with cigar mouth open. I guess she's surprised at the statistics. So she has her mouth open for a reason.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. She's surprised at the statistics, right? So as we look at all of this, I think it adds to the argument why it is necessary for persons to really take that time and incorporate financial intelligence into their learning, into their academic ecosystem. It should be an essential part of that body of knowledge. Now, I'm going to come to the third habit. I know you gave two already, so they had more than 5 already, that I believe people need to focus a lot on. But just before I go to the third habit, I want to share with our listening audience platforms that we have designed to help them on this path. Now, I want you to go to one of our websites. It's known as the bestsellerportal.org. Go to that website now. Don't waste time. All right. And I just want you to peruse the front page. On the front page, the very first program you're going to see is 1 Degree to Success. And this makes a whole lot of sense to you. We start off this program by saying every step in the right direction is 1 degree to success. But do you know what's the right direction
Right.
to embrace success? This program will talk to you about some of the fastest way to position yourself to cash flow and so much more. So take some time, go study this program. The second program that you will learn, this is for business and the average person who wants to grow financially. This is the Business Success Blueprint. On this platform, you will really understand a blueprint that you can leverage to position your business and your brand for success. The third program that you will learn here is what we call the GIP Initiative. Now, what is the GIP Initiative? On this platform, you will learn a lot about how to become a global influencer, a global influencer. Now, this talks a lot about corporate branding and personal branding. And as a rising star in business, I know you tend to focus a lot of attention on your corporate brand. And if you're focusing on your corporate brand and you are neglecting your personal brand, that can significantly hurt you and undermine your business potential to cash flow. So this program goes into that, really helps you to understand what is personal branding, how to build a personal branding, and how to optimize it in such a way to cash flow optimize. All right. So the fourth program that you will get here is the Cash Flow Incubator. Now you can see the same young lady with her mouth open because she get the right information now and she got money in her hands. So she's excited that she's probably asking herself why she didn't have this information before, like what Peter would say. So Cash Flow Incubator is really going to help you to understand how to set up your virtual storefront, help you to understand affiliate marketing, drop shipping, and so much more. Of smart, innovative ways that you can cash flow. All right. Now, believe me, you can do this from anywhere in the world. All right. Anywhere in the world. And we will help you to set up those systems to make it happen. Now, this is the last program I'm going to talk about now, High Net Worth Investors Guide. Now, if you are not thinking like a high net worth investor, perhaps you have some strongholds on you that is holding you back, the mindset. This program is really going to help you to understand how to start thinking like a high net worth investor. For example, some of the concepts that you will be introduced to is the concept that we talk about, the law of preparation. And this is all about how do you prepare yourself for success. You see, many persons, you want to be successful, but are you prepared for success based on data? To position yourself for success is not an emotional decision. You have to have the data. So when we talk about making academic make sense, academic is supposed to be the kind of data that is allowing you to extract essential information that will help you to attain predictable outcome. Not only high reward, but high reward must be able to give you predictable outcome with the highest degree of accuracy. Now, on this program, you will learn things about what is the art and the science of success. Now, what is success? We'll talk about that. You need to define success. There are 3 different levels of success that you need to understand. We will talk about what is art. Art is strategies and tools and processes. Do you understand the right tools and processes and strategies to leverage to position yourself for success? Perhaps not, and that's why you're going to struggle to attain success. And then we talk about the science of success. The science of success is where you get consistent, you get targeted results consistently with the highest degree of accuracy. And think about this. So if you want to position yourself for wealth, you're not experimenting. As Peter would have said, you're not taking secondhand information. You're taking secondhand with perhaps practical, experience, and you're molding this together. You're looking at the data. You're looking at market reality. You're making critical decisions. as you leverage certain body of knowledge to position yourself to come into success. This is a beautiful program. It goes even deeper to talk about evidence-based marketing. And evidence-based marketing is so beautiful because it really helps you to understand what is having information, having data. So, you know, having the right information really helps you to make better decisions. All right. And evidence-based marketing, what really brings you to this stage to have that type of information. I'm going to pause because I can talk for the rest of the day and perhaps the rest of the week about this program because I'm excited about you learning it. On this platform to you, you're going to have mentors, you're going to have coaches, you're going to have a support system, and so much more. All right, so much more. You take this program to apply it to your business. You need access to capital. We're going to help you with that. So I'm going to pause here for now on this point. But what I also, the third point that I want to raise, Peter, another habit to really hold very close to your chest as part of your master moves in chess. All right. You want to hold it close to your chest is a concept that we call understanding the ecosystem of money. And what do I mean by the ecosystem of money? It's not about understanding financial instruments. It's 4 elements you need to understand. These are habits you need to form. There's a lot of person you're going to buy a debt or take a debt, but you don't know if equity is better than credit, if credit is better than hard money, if hard money is better than debt itself. These are different financial instruments and they function differently. And you need to understand them. They may function differently even at cost,
Right.
but you need to understand that. For example, if you're taking a debt instrument will be subject to monthly debt cost. All right. You need to know this. Credit comes with monthly debt cost, but you're able to waive the monthly debt cost if you understand 0% APR. But do you understand the ecosystem of money well enough to make that type of decisions? So this is something that a chess move that you want to have very close to your chest. It's a master chess move to really understand the ecosystem of money. Equity, again, leverage is different because while debt may have monthly debt obligation, if you find the right equity partner, you may not have monthly or quarterly debt obligation because they say, hey, we're in this thing together. We're going to waive our equity. We're going to take it at the end of the year. We're going to take the excess fund. We're going to pump it back into the operation to grow and scale the operation so we can reach further faster. We can make more money. They're not coming to just take money. They're coming to grow the business and expand the operation. And everybody happy at the end of the day. So understanding the ecosystem of money is something that you want to hold close to your chest. All right. I can't emphasize this enough. Now, once you learn this, the next play is going to be to understand how to access. Because sometimes you understand financial instruments, but then you don't know how to access it. And fortunate for us, Peter, you know that when we first start hitting the streets of New York, you know, we were in information drive. And, you know, some things that look difficult, I said, we're going to break those walls down. And we end up in Manhattan the first time and we were on stage already speaking, right? We break the wall down. And with finance now, we were able to bring into some financial partners and we can now provide capital throughout the United States. And I'm happy that your kids are now a part of that program. I know they're going to be trendsetter in those fields. So we bring the barriers down and, you know, we now make things easier for our community. So understanding the portfolio, how to access and how to leverage. The third element is how to leverage. Because you may have access to capital, You may know financial instrument, but then you don't know fully how to leverage it to your advantage. And these are all analysis that you would need to do. And for me, when I talk about making academic make sense, I believe though average man should be smarter than the academics when it comes to understanding financial instruments. But the reality is you have the reverse. All right. You need to understand how to leverage. And to leverage capital the smart way, you need to understand market realities, because to leverage is not an emotional decision, it's a business decision. And if it's a business decision, that business decision must make financial sense. So you have to be able to do this type of analysis. And I'm happy, Peter, that our program really goes into all of this to really help people to make smarter business decisions and smarter life decisions. The last point that I'm going to make, Peter, before I turn to you, is going to be capital mitigation. There are many persons I'm aware of. You go through financial studies, accounting studies, and sometimes you never study the mitigation process. You never study the mitigation process. For us, it's about understanding what an amortization schedule looks like. And as you bring the capital mitigation mindset to the amortization schedule, just like how that young man would have assessed the cost of capital over the life cycle of that capital, you're asking yourself, okay, I'm going to be paying back 175,000 US dollars over this period. But is it possible that I can reduce that cost for capital by simply tweaking the life cycle of my debt, which means that I might have to, deal with my principal balance in advance. So there are things that I can do to do that, to mitigate it. So understanding this is a major capital leverage play, because when you understand how to play this game, you really understand how to help businesses to save, and yourself, how to save hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt and possibly millions of dollars in debt, simply because you understand how to mitigate it. So this is a chess move that you need to understand. And luckily, in the case that I made earlier on, that young man, hats off to him. He really understands how to play the game of money. Perhaps the younger brother was just a bit wayward. He wants to go, probably he had his own agenda. He wanted to get into campus because he wanted to mix and mingle, get connected with people. A relationship is vital. So perhaps he had his own agenda. So let's trust that he bring all of those resources over to his brother operation now that his brother decided to give him, open reign in the organization. Peter, on to you, my friend, before we wrap up.
and that's important, definitely, because the young man, the young man that made the financial decision, he discovered the third thing that I was about to communicate with, and so happens that I have to make this my closing remark as well, because I have in the next few minutes I have to connect with.
You have to hit the road.
Yeah.
And I know you guys are embarking on the $1 billion project, so I'm going to say, I'm going to start hanging my bowl with the soup running, right?
Indeed.
You guys are making some $1 billion moves, right?
When you check out the mission, when we understand what our mission is and the cost of our mission, then you know that the bill has to be paid. And the bill has to be paid through relationships and making money. It's not difficult, really. It's difficult for those who do not understand it. When you begin to understand it, you realize that it's all the way, it's all around us. And when we learn to serve effectively well, then it flows to us much, much more easily. And in saying that, that is what the marketplace is all about. The marketplace is a place of relationships where an individual can look at their mission, what they were born to do, what they were sent on the planet to do, and then they can look at what it's, the mandates, the one or two things that they themselves must do in order to accomplish that mission. And then the thought of where they're going to do it is now the market, because there is a place where the persons that you serve, they congregate there. Once you can find that place where your ideal people are always congregating, it becomes easy now, because all you have to do is just join that place of congregation, that place where they're always, and you serve. You serve well, you serve effectively, you give good quality, and you serve your market. And once you serve your market, then people always be happy to cash flow for you. They will always be happy because you are giving them something of value. Then it's only fair that they return, because individuals who understand how the market works, they know it works best when everyone in the system is well, is compensated for the service that they bring. And that, in a nutshell, is how it works from my just those 3 points, with, and we saw it well. So you gave, Gary, you started out this session by giving a practical example of how the system works, and we're just backing it up now with these pointers that we're communicating to the audience.
All right, and thanks again for that share, Peter. I just want to say to our listening audience, today we are reaching over 50 countries, and today we have over 30,000 new subscribers who have subscribed to our platform over the last 2 months and change. I want to thank you. We are seeing over 70% of those who are viewing the program, you have not yet subscribed. So I want to encourage you to subscribe, so you will be the first to get these programs that we bring into you. And I want to say this: if you're in business or you're ambitious and you want to achieve more financially, this is a platform for you. And we have so much in store for you that we have not even yet opened the door yet on that type of information, but it's coming soon. So you want to subscribe now, subscribe to the program. So when this information comes out, you would be the first to be notified on what we are going to be bringing to help you to advance your business vision and advance your personal life. I really want to thank Peter for being here today. Peter is a theologist by profession. He's very passionate about what he does. One of the other things that he's very passionate about is the Legacy Chronicle and Human Growth Program. He focused a lot on really talking to people about having your personal life master plan. Can you believe that you have a business plan for your building? If you get this far, but you don't have a master plan for your life, come on. This is your life we're talking about. You're the most precious asset, the world has ever known. You can't treat yourself like that. You need your life master plan. So Peter is that kind of person that's going to help you to get your master plan set right across 4 spectrum: your personal life, family life, and community life, and your definitely corporate life. He is the guy that's going to talk you through that, give you the mentorship, the coaching, and the support to make things well with your personal life, your life master plan. So Peter, I want to thank you for being with us today, and looking forward to doing this again on Monday. Do enjoy whatever is left of the weekend. Go make those billions so I can hang my plate with the soup on it, right?
What life is about, my brother.
All right. You got it, my friend. You got it. All right. And to the audience, do enjoy the rest of the weekend. Goodbye.